place to do it because I don't need to wear the mask in my room, so excuse me, it feels really inappropriate, but it's just so convenient. Thank you for this. Me and Kay, I was actually planning that me and Kay would be together. We're probably only about 50 metres apart, but because we're in the bubble, Susie, it's not appropriate for me to sit alongside Kay. So
it was quite.
I've had a bit of a busy morning, but me and Kay have had a good discussion about the areas that you wanted to touch on in this interview, Susie. So I think we're probably good just to fire straight into it. And obviously, if there's anything that is outside of what we've already discussed that might cause an issue, I might chip in. But otherwise, I'm just going to stay silent and let you two have a great conversation. Is that all right?
Yeah, nice one. Don't worry. I don't think there's anything too controversial
I'll hide my face
in there,
as well, so you're not staring at me on the bed. Okay. Thanks, Susie.
Cool. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Susie.
How are you?
Good to see you well.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting month and a half, but I'm all good now. I will speed through the questions I've got and not keep you too long. First off, I suppose, like, how would you describe what you do to the layman?
Good question to start off with. What do I do? So I pretty much lead, from a performance and technical point of view, all of our England national teams from 16s now with our kind of national talent programme at 14s and 15s right the way through to seniors. So I guess my job is to identify potential England players in the early stages of the pathway, help support and develop them through our youth systems and development teams, and ready them for podium finishes at the top end with the Lionesses.
And how does that process sort of begin for you? Because obviously that's not something that you kind of develop overnight. What informs the starting point of that process, I suppose?
Sure. So we have, myself and my background, I was a national coach for many years, over a decade, working across the youth team age groups. So I had a real sound knowledge of what we needed to compete against the best in the world, the best in Europe, through the age groups, and obviously worked very closely with Hope and the senior team. And where we started with was, could we actually try to embed some really good high-performing principles in players early on when we identified them? So what was it that we were actually looking for? And we started this performance backwards philosophy. So if we could understand what it takes to win at the highest level, what the technical, tactical components are, what the psychological components, what the physical demands of the game are, what would that look like if we filtered that down through a system and through a pathway? And what were the key characteristics of 12, 13 and 14-year-olds that we needed to kind of nurture and work with and identify? And I guess the great position that we're in is many of the seniors that you see now have, come through that system previous to it being how it looks now. So, I very much remember Leah Williamson and Georgia Stanway and Jordan Nobbs and, all of these players when they were 13, 14, 15. So we started to look at characteristics of players early on and what that looks like. So with that, we developed the blueprint for success. So our blueprint for success is a coaching and playing and operating philosophy across all of our national teams, and how we, England, feel that we can best support players when they're in our environment to ready them for international tournament football. And that ranges from the style of play that we want to exhibit, and how that develops in a curriculum. So how we go from a 4-4-2 with our under 15s through to a 4-3-3 in our kind of youth development phase, and how we start now to look at what that looks like playing the 3 at the back system, for example, and all the things that go with that, right the way from how we induct players into our teams, etc. So our blueprint for success has been, we're kind of 18 months into it now, but it's been a phenomenal piece of work to galvanise all the different disciplines and departments to align them to our one single mission. So in short, I guess where we start from is the end goal. And then how we look at building that is a curriculum of intent as we go through the system.
And like how is that, or similar or different, I suppose, to the way the men's pathway is done? Is that like something that they've been doing for a while that is now being brought into the women's game, or is it something that's sort of kind of gone sided, like hand in hand a little bit, I suppose? Like, what's the relationship?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great relationship with the staff on the men's national teams. And when I came into this position, I did see a player pathway document that the men's game had, which was a similar concept in terms of trying to unpick what they wanted to do at each age group. But what we started to do is be really deliberate around what the key focuses were. So we started to put together, we had our project groups for how we play, how we coach and support, how we operate. And I guess a really big thing that we've done a lot of work on, Katie, was the who we are. Because we have, as you all know, we have a different story and a different identity to the men's game. And we felt that we wanted to connect our players and staff to our story and our identity and our kind of ancestors of the game that came before. And, that kind of, emotional connection with the game to try to inspire our staff and players to put on the England badge and perform at the highest level. So they were our 4 strands that were somewhat different. And obviously under the England DNA, we have the same style of play in terms of we want to play through the thirds, and that's the same. But what I slowly worked out was that's what we want to get to, but it was the how. How do we do that? And that's where the blueprint was born, in that it's a curriculum for educators. If you come to work on national teams tomorrow, we'll be able to induct you on how we operate here. So what we do in each of those strands, and how we will develop players, which we feel has been massively powerful in galvanising everybody together for that one single mission. So that's where there's an alignment of the DNA across the men's game, but there's a distinct difference in what we do with female players in relation to where the game's come from, but who we are as female players and how you approach and coach the game. And I guess the growth of the game as well from a technical point of view.
And what age level do you first start identifying players, and how are they identified for the England setup? And I suppose what is the methodology behind identifying players? Because obviously you can have a player that's supremely talented, but may just not be cut out for the professional game, so to speak, or vice versa. Yeah. How do you identify the right people for the England setup more than the players?
Absolutely. So this is a real unique difference between the men and women's game. So what we have is a Lioness Talent Pathway, which we've been really fortunate that's kind of been funded through Sport England for, a couple of decades now. And it's the shape of it and what it looks like has grown with the evolution of the women's game. And basically it's a supplementary program that sits between club football and international football. So this Lioness Talent Pathway, we have 7 staff that work out in regions for us, and we've got 5 regional talent technical coaches. And what their job is to strategically work with all key stakeholders and partners within those regions to unearth and identify potential talent. So we start from 12 years of age. We do feel and believe that any younger than that, we still want players to love the game. We want players to keep playing the game. We want them to play level and not travel for 2 hours, 3 hours, get to a fixture when they're 9 years of age. We want them to play lots of different sports because we feel that gives them, great skills going forward. So we start the identification at 12. And then our first kind of interaction with them is in the under 14 age group. And we run various different regional activities, and we show you one that we feel has been a significant positive for us over the past 2 years, and that's something called a performance hub. So what we do is we identify those that we feel have potential, but like you've just rightly said, there's having talent, but there's having the ability to kind of enhance that talent and deliver that talent. Certain pressured environments, when you have education constraints and challenges, and all the other things that go with that. So we developed a performance hub in each region where we had expertise